I have been having problems with my truck. Let's have a look what's going on. But we've got the right turn signal on. And as you can see, the reverse light blinks on both sides. I've already taken the lens off. So normally what you would do is you would take obviously your lens off, take your housing out, you'd find the ground, you know, it's usually the black wire, and then you'd find somewhere in here to drill a hole and then ground it down to bare metal and then put a screw through there or something. You can see I've already kind of done that here on the other side, and that's what that would look like. And that would fix your problem because it was probably that it had a bad ground and it was feeding through your reverse light, but that's not what's going on here. So since it was not the ground on the tail light that was what was making everything go wonky, now we need to do a little bit of analysis. So this kind of tells me that maybe two wires are melted together or something like that. In this instance, it would be the right turn signal wire and the reverse light wires. So now my job is to go under the truck, see if I can find any melted wiring, and then address it there. These were just taped here. They were melted into each other. So we're gonna cut those, and then we're going to reconnect them and see if it fixes it. So we can see that there's obviously a problem here. I cut the wiring harness and repaired this area, and it did not fix the issue. So somewhere between the firewall and the back half of the truck is our issue. So the first thing that I did was look at my firewall here, and I've already redone the wiring. This is kind of post video. You got your reverse wiring here, and I thought, oh well, this wiring harness, maybe that's the problem, the little plug on the firewall. So I hooked a wire here, I cut off the old one, I hooked in a wire here, and then ran it over the cab and all the way back there and hooked it up to my reverse light. Then I turned the signal on, and that reverse light didn't blink, but even though the reverse light wire was cut, this one still blinked. So that tells me that the fault here is somewhere between the tail lights and the firewall. I am not about to track that down, so I'm just going to rip everything out and start over. To do that, I'm going to use this. This is a trailer wiring harness. It is 25 feet long, and if you want to cry about me using something that's not OEM, oh well, too bad. It works. It's a wire, it's about the same gauge, and it's going to treat me just fine. So now to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some new wire all the way from the firewall to the back harness there, because I know that the problem is somewhere in between. So we're just going to locate that in the engine bay here, which I've already done. I've already got the reverse one done. It's this little wire harness here. And so I'm going to cut all four of these. We're going to wire up our new wiring and then run it to the back. So we ripped out all the wiring on the truck. Here is our problem. That is the turn signal hitting the reverse light. So where was this? It was nowhere back here. The wiring in the engine bay originally went up here and behind the booster and then down there. It was stuck in there kind of between the booster and the firewall, and that had worn through. So I never would have found that if I didn't just rip all the wiring out and start over. Now, since we're using a trailer harness, we're just going to remember that one of our wires is going to be incorrect. These two are correct, the green and the brown, so we'll hook those up to their respective locations. But the one where we have yellow and brown, this brown is actually the reverse, which should be a light green, but we're just going to notate that and then do that in the back of the truck. Alright, so we've got our new wiring harness here, got our old wiring harness here. Now we just match them up and heat shrink them and all that. And just remember that we're hooking this brown one that's attached to the yellow one here to our light green one here, because we're using a not original wiring harness. So now with that done, I gave myself a little bit of extra slack so that I could redo my trailer wiring harness. And then we can kind of take up the extra slack here and tuck it in our little wiring harness here, our little clip. Alright, moment of truth. Alright, promising. Let's try the left one just to be sure. Beautiful. Excellent. And I still have about 10 feet of trailer wiring plus the extra little plug, so that's a win in my book. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. Remember, if that happens to you, just assume that maybe there's a bad ground, and you can kind of tie an extra wire in there anyway, because it's always good to have extra ground. Not gonna hurt anything. But if that doesn't fix your problem, you obviously have a short somewhere in the system. Maybe you just need to tear the wiring out like I did. Who knows? You be the judge. Every situation's different, but as usual, you be good while I'm gone. I'll see you next time. Have a good week.